Hello again, students and parents. So our first video was about multiplication. The second video is about representing math problems that involve division. Today we're talking about determining the unknown number in a division problem as being either the number of groups or the number of objects within a group. Now, if we remember our multiplication, we're doing it with arrays. When we do division, we're also looking at arrays, or what the children like to call dealing things out. They know that multiplication and division are opposites, so it only makes sense to try to follow the same concepts that we were doing with multiplication. So let's go ahead and jump right into a problem. Mrs. Prescott arranges 16 apples into 4 bags. How many apples are in each bag? I'd like the children to model the problem with an array and then write the equation. Pause the video, solve that, and then start it up again and we'll do it together. So hopefully when you just stopped it, you reminded yourself to find and identify each of the numbers within the problem, and then to tell what those numbers are. So when you read this problem, you know that the total number of apples is 16. You're going to put the apples into 4 bags. So would that be our number of groups or the number of objects within each group? That would be the number of groups. So if we go back to multiplication and we think about an array, the number of groups tells us the number of rows. So I'm going to just start right off and I'm going to make myself 4 rows or 4 groups. I now know that I need to evenly distribute my 16 apples among those 4 rows. So I'm going to deal them out. And I'm going to put an apple in my first group. I'm going to put an apple in the second, the third, and the fourth. That's 4 apples. Now, if the students need to count by ones, they can continue to count by ones. But now knowing and seeing it in front of them that it's 4, hopefully they can do some skip counting at this point. And they're going to count until they get up to the total of 16. So 4, 8, 12, and 16. So they know now by looking at their picture that there are going to be 4 apples in each row. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the quotient to this problem is 4. When we write that as an equation, we would know that we know what the 16 is. That's our total. So that right there is going to be our dividend. We want to divide that by 4, our divisor, which is the number of groups, and we're searching for this answer. And that again happened to be the number within each group. So that's 4. The students can check their work by doing 4 times 4, or then recounting it. 4, 8, 12, 16. So let's take a minute and let's talk about those words, because we do want the students to use the math terminology. When we're doing a division problem, the first word that the kids learn, because it's the one that becomes important to them in the beginning, is the term quotient. The quotient is the answer after the division. The number that they are dividing is our dividend, which is being divided by the divisor. Won that. So in our last problem, 16 was our dividend. 4 bags was our divisor, and our quotient was 4 apples per bag, or in each group. We want the students to try to keep those words up at the front of their minds while they're working. So let's go on to a second problem. 24 dinner plates are stacked equally into 4 piles. How many dinner plates are in each pile? Again, we're going to solve this with an array, and we're going to write the equation. Students, pause the video. First, identify the numbers, and then do the math work. So the first thing that you did was you found the number 24 dinner plates and 4 piles. The plates are being stacked into piles. So we know that 24 is going to be the total number of plates, and we know that the piles is going to tells us how many groups. So there are 4. So now we need to know how many in each group. Well, again, groups means the same as rows. So we can put 4 rows. Now sometimes the children want to draw a picture instead of drawing the rows first, and that's absolutely fine because the students want to deal them out, and they might want to deal them a different way. So they might say, I'm going to put one stack here and another stack here and a third stack here and a fourth stack there. They're going to deal them out the same way. 1, 2, 3, 4, which would be the same as 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're going to keep on going until they get to the total, which is 24. 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Our number of rows hasn't changed. Our number of groups, our number of piles, however you want to call it. We see that we have 4. Now we just need to count how many ended up in each pile, or each row, or each group. Correct, there are 6. So I got rid of the drawing because it does ask for an array. So right away we're going to look at how are we going to write this into an equation. Well, we know that 24 is the total, so 24 is the dividend. Excuse me, yes, dividend. We're going to divide that by, this time, our number of groups, which is our divisor. So our answer is going to tell us how many objects in each group, how many plates are in each stack, and there are 6. And again, that is known as our quotient. In order for the children to know if they're solving for the number of groups or the number of objects in each group, they must start by first reading the problem and identifying the numbers and then determining what they happen to be. So let's solve one more. In the back of the store, Mr. Prescott packs 27 cookies equally into 9 bags. How many cookies are in each bag? Again, pause the video so that you can identify the numbers and what they happen to be. All right, 27 cookies is our total. 9 bags. That tells the number of groups again. How many cookies are in each bag? We're trying to find the number of objects in each bag. So, if we solve this with an array, again, we know how many groups, we know how many total we need. Pause the video and go ahead and do it. So there you have it. We have 9 groups, total of 27 cookies. Remember that the groups must be shown as the number of rows when you are doing an array. If you were doing this as a picture, you would have drawn 9 bags. Those bags just turn into the rows. So when we write that as our equation, we have 27 as our dividend divided by, divided by our 9 rows, which equals 3 cookies per row, per group, per bag. And the last one. Anna picks 20 tomatoes. She makes equal bundles of 5 tomatoes to give to her friends. How many friends does Anna give a bundle to? Again, you're going to pause the video, identify the numbers, and solve with an array. So we see that she has 20 tomatoes. So there's our total. She's going to make bundles of 5 tomatoes. So the bundles are the groups which we don't know. Her friends each get a bundle. So the 5 tells us how many in each group. So this time, by identifying those numbers first, we know that we are solving to find the number of groups. So we don't know how many rows to draw this time. Pause the video and take a minute to figure out what to do. All right. So we know how many are going to go into each group. So we can make rows of 5 until we get to 20. We don't know how many rows again. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't want to count by ones. I can skip count. Once my array is set, I just make sure to line everything up. 5, 10, 15, 20. So I reached my total. So this time, my total is still going to be my dividend. My other known number is still going to be my divisor, but this time that divisor happened to be the number within the group. So if Anna's giving away 4 bundles, that means that the quotient 4 tells us how many friends Anna gave tomatoes to. You can continue to practice by setting up your own problems. You can write an array, and then you could write both the multiplication and the division problem that go with each of the arrays. Remember, groups are rows that go across. The total would be everything within that. And the number of groups, again, are those rows. If you have any questions, be sure to contact your child's teacher, and they'll help you out further. Thank you.